They say every great adventure starts with a little bit of magic, and today we're joined by two people who know all about that. Tom and Michelle from Hyperion Adventures Podcast are here to share their love for Disney, their incredible adventures, and maybe even a few surprises along the way. Stay with us because there's one magical chat you won't want to miss.
Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I go.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Great British Mickey Waffle. I'm Ben, and joining me today we have John. Hope you're well and glad that we're finally seeing at the end to winter.
It's that time. It's that time of year, Ben, when the sun comes out.
Yeah.
I'm getting that Floridian experience sort of in a British kind of way. It's not hot and sweaty, but at least I've got a bit of sunshine, a bit of daylight, rather than those dark winter days. So yeah, it really is a cracking step in the right direction.
It's that weird, strange time of the year where in the morning you need to take your big winter coat, but by 10 o'clock it's like, okay, I don't need that, and you're carrying it around all day, and then you need it at the end of the day.
Or you dump your winter coat somewhere, and then by the end of the day you can't remember where you left it. So you go home and you're thinking, I'm sure I was wearing a coat when I left the house this morning.
Yeah, I just like it's just that positivity of just seeing sunshine and the grey and wintry days that we've had past. It's quite nice
Certainly
to see the sunshine every morning when you wake up. But so yeah, and now it's time to welcome in our two very special guests. Joining us today, we have Tom and Michelle from the Hyperion Adventures Podcast.
Oh, hi guys, thanks for having us. This has been a long time coming, and we're really appreciative of your invites. And we've been loving your show for so long. We've been interacting on social media for so long, and I'm glad finally, virtually, we're able to get together with you both.
Yeah,
It's
we're
really good
such
the stars
big
have aligned.
fans.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. There've been a couple near misses, but finally, we were able to make this work, and we couldn't be happier about it. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's an
Yeah.
absolute
Tom and
delight to
Michelle are
have
not
you on.
only passionate.
Thank you.
Tom and Michelle are not only passionate Disney fans, but also incredible podcasters who bring so much positivity and knowledge to the Disney community. So we're so excited to have them here to chat about their love for Disney, their podcasting journey, and of course, all things magical. But before we dive into all of that, it wouldn't be a Great British Mickey Waffle episode without putting our guests through their paces. So I think it's time for our infamous Carousel of Questions. I hope you guys are ready.
Infamous sounds perfect for it. Yeah,
The pressure is on, isn't it?
for sure.
I love this bit of the show. It's one of those things that John, over the years that we've done this segment, that there's something just asking these questions that every time you get a different answer. And I think every time when we recorded ours a few years ago, that even the day later, you want to change your answer.
And I think for Tom and Michelle, just go with what comes into your head first time. I say this every time. Just come with whatever comes into your head. Go with it, and then you can wake up tomorrow and realize that, oh, I should have said that, or I wish I'd said that.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we get you back on the show in the future, and you can say, when you set us up with that Carousel of Questions.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I mean, like 5 minutes after we sign
well,
off.
that's what a lot of us. That's what happened to a lot of us.
Either that or at 2 a.m. We're like, why did I give that answer?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I'll start off with the first one. So what is your favourite park? Let's go for Michelle first.
I'm going to say it is my favorite, but it's also my favorite for several reasons, and that would be Epcot. Epcot has been my favorite for a long, long time. But more recently, now we have a son who has Down syndrome and on the spectrum. And for the past year, I've been taking him to Epcot. I used to always take him to Magic Kingdom thinking, oh, that's probably where his joy goes. But I have found he loves Epcot too. And one time recently when we went, neither of us had gotten a good night's sleep the night before, both a little bit grumpy. And we were about to go into security, kind of had little meltdowns. And I'm like, all right, this isn't going to be fun. Let's just go home. And he's like, no. Now he's nonverbal. And he was saying no. I'm like, okay. And we got through security. We got through the entrance. And, we're getting ready to go through, underneath Spaceship Earth. And suddenly he just takes my hand and gives me a little kiss. And again, he's nonverbal. And I know that was his way of, sorry about the meltdown. Thank you for taking me in here. And every time we go to Epcot now, you could just see he enjoys it. I'm dragging him out, which is so rare for him. You can say, no matter where we're at, you ready to go home? And he's, yes, not Epcot. And I think being able to share that joy with him has made Epcot a million times more fun for me.
Oh, that's amazing. There was something about Epcot that just, I don't know what it is for me. I find it's the music loop that when you walk through, it just reminds you you're definitely in Epcot. It's just something that is very different. Tom, what about yours? Is yours same as Epcot, or have you got a different answer?
So if you're talking Walt Disney World, definitely Epcot. I'm all about the vibes, and like you were both just discussing, the vibes of Epcot is what I go for. I mean, yes, we still like the attractions, but maybe we don't do as many attractions as we used to. Now we go to Disney a lot of times to more explore and take in the magic, take in the vibe, take in just the feel of it all and enjoy it. And Epcot is kind of that perfect park to do that. Saying that, however, I grew up on the West Coast of the United States. I grew up going to Disneyland. So the original Disneyland, Walt's original park is still my favorite park because there is no other Disney park that you can go into and you can walk down the street and you're walking in the footsteps of Walt Disney, where he walked, where he planned this all out. You can point up and you can look up. You can even visit, if you do one of the tours, Walt's apartment where he would stay when he was there. Many of the attractions there still to this day are attractions that Walt was on, that he rode, and he was, a big part of designing. It's still that park, and that's why it's still my favorite park, even though 3 years ago we moved from California to Florida, and now we're visiting Walt Disney World much more often.
Wow. I don't think of all the times we've ever asked that first question, I've actually had such a lump in my throat from both answers. And actually,
Wow.
I get told off for taking the show off on a tangent and things like that. So I'm desperately trying to ask the next question. But I would say to both of you, what a beautiful way of starting the show off. And actually, we could do the whole show just purely about both of your answers to the first question.
It's just made me so excited because we've got a trip booked to Disneyland in May. And it's our first trip to Disneyland.
I know.
So I can't wait to just feel that magic and how different
it's different. If you've only known Walt Disney World, it's different. You got to get prepared because it's going to be a different experience for you. But if you embrace the history and the magic and actually how compact it is compared to Walt Disney World, you will. I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to love it.
Can't wait.
Tell you what, I'm gonna pop that balloon of positivity, and I'm going to ask you both. Tell me a ride that you hate. There you go.
I'll go first. I'm just going to say we are the Disney podcast of positivity.
I know. That's why I said
we don't really focus on hating anything. I don't hate any ride at Walt Disney World, Disneyland, anything. I don't hate any ride. Now, my least favorite ride.
This is a nice way of rephrasing that.
Differently. Anything that spins for me. So it could be the Mad Tea Party, the teacups. It could be anything that spins. No, I don't want any part of it. My stomach can't handle it. My sensibility can't handle it. If anybody wants to go on it, Michelle will go on those sometimes. I'm like, I'll see you on the sideline. Not my favorite attraction.
Tom, I'm right with you. I can go on the worst roller coasters, the most G-inducing roller coasters in the world, and be so exhilarated. But stick me on them teacups, and I am just like it's just I can't do it. I'm totally with you on that. I don't know why it is, but it doesn't agree with me. It's either. So I think that's a great answer.
Yeah,
Michelle, what about you?
I'm not a fan of roller coasters, but I'll give each of them one try. More just to see what it's about. I love storytelling, so. But there is one attraction I have never gone on because I know, and maybe I'm just being stubborn and not giving it a chance, but Mission Space. I just don't think that it's going to make me feel that good for the rest of the day to chance it, just in talking to so many people and stuff. So I guess by default, I would say that would fall under that category. maybe I should give it a chance and make my own opinion, but that's one that I have not ever tried. The only one.
I think that's the risk, isn't it? You always hear people having bad experiences on that ride. It's a bit like when say Guardians opened for the first time, and then all you saw were these sick bags, and it was like, okay, maybe this ride is a lot more intense than you think it's going to be. But it's one of those things you get other people's experience. So I think, like you said, it's worth trying a ride once and seeing whether you like it or not. But
Yeah.
Right.
I still haven't yet tried Mission Space.
Me too. I knew there was a reason to that as well, Ben. That's another good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
Okay. So
centrifuge idea, you know.
yeah,
Add
I
it
don't
to
know.
the
I could
list for
probably
the
try.
summer.
I could probably try green, Mission Space Green, but I'm not sure whether I'd go
Right.
for orange. I don't want to ruin the day. But yeah. So what is your most overrated snack?
I don't know if this comes up in the parks that much. I know I see it in the resorts a lot, is cupcakes. I like a good cupcake. I don't know that it needs as much icing. They're beautiful, but it's like to get to the real cupcake, I don't know. And I have a sweet tooth, but that's, I think my thing is cupcakes just at Disney tend to have a little bit more proportion of icing than I would enjoy.
They're hit
Okay.
and miss very much at Walt Disney World. They look
Yeah.
beautiful, and you're like, wow, that looks really great. It sounds really great. And then you get it, and it's just like this sugar bomb that sometimes is just a little bit too much.
Right.
Yep.
So I get you. I get where you're talking
Yeah.
about. For me, my least favorite Disney snack is probably any Walt Disney World churro. I'm not a churro person. I mean, churro fine. There are good churros on property. Like if you go to Nomad Lounge at Animal Kingdom, they make some really great churros there. There are some great ones. But when you just go to a stand or whatever,
Yeah.
I don't find the Walt Disney World churros to be particularly great. It's just not my thing. Maybe it's because I'm more of a savory snack person, but I'm just not a churro person.
No, good.
Disneyland ones are pretty good though.
Okay. I've heard a lot of good stories about the ones at Disneyland, so they are definitely on our snack list.
A lot of variety too.
Yeah, I just worry that every time we write a list for snacks, every time that we've gone to a park before, especially like Walt Disney World, you write a list of snacks. By the time you actually have gone on your trip, they've gone. They've changed. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go wait till like a couple of weeks out for Disneyland and then see what sticks around.
Yeah.
Yeah, check the menus.
Good plan.
Definitely. So what's your favorite transportation mode at Walt Disney World?
I think it's my turn to go first this
think
time.
so.
Yeah. So I may surprise people. Maybe it's because I've talked about more about the vibes. I really like the boats, and I'm not talking about the big ferry that takes you from Ticket and Transportation to Magic Kingdom, like the smaller boats and the Friendship boats, but even like the smaller resort boats that take you from some of the Magic Kingdom resorts to the park or even between the resorts. I really like, just especially on a hot day in Orlando, when you can just get out there on the water and feel the cool breeze and just kind of enjoy the vibe of motoring over towards the most magical place on earth. I love the monorail. I love the Skyliner a lot, but there's just something kind of cool about the boats to me.
That's a really good answer. And what I would also add as well, from a different part, you talk about the vibe, but it changes your perspective of the hotels that you're coming from, and also your actual vision of Magic Kingdom as you're going towards it. And then vice versa on the way out, if you're coming the opposite way, you get a completely different view that you can't get anywhere else. And loads of people miss it. I know we've been saying on our podcast for a long time, go to the resort, use the resort transportation so that you get a chance to do these wonderful things that they are free. You don't have to have a ticket, you don't have to buy this and that. Go and love. It's such a lovely thing to be able to do. Really is.
And now that they have the boat running in the afternoon anyway, from the Contemporary to the Wilderness Lodge and to Fort Wilderness, that's kind of a fun little, if you're just looking for an afternoon to do something kind of fun, just hop on the boats between them, stop by in the resorts, maybe, stop off at one of the lounge, get a drink, and then head off to the next one. It's just kind of a fun way to spend an afternoon, especially on a warmer day or when you're a little worn out from maybe a few too many days at the parks, and just do something a little different.
No, great answer. Love that. Michelle, what about you?
Well, I was thinking of saying monorail, but when you're talking about perspective and everything, one of the things I enjoy, and it's not easy transportation to get on because they don't have it all day. But it's actually the double-decker bus at Magic Kingdom. You can
Oh,
get a
yeah.
double-decker bus and go to the top. And as then you're going either direction, going down Main Street or returning, and just look at the top of the buildings, look at especially, like Halloween season when they have all the pumpkins there, or Christmas time when you miss a lot of those great decorations that are at more higher level in the buildings. But going that double-decker bus, your perspective of Magic Kingdom is different in a very beautiful way. It's spectacular.
What a great
I
answer.
love
And
that.
also it gets you closer to some of those Main Street windows as well, that possibly from
True.
when you're on the at street level, you don't quite get the same vantage point. But when you're that little bit higher, you're viewing right in at the height enough to see some of the amazing windows of Main Street. I think you're the first person to ever say that. It's a cracking answer.
Yep.
I love
That's
that.
brilliant.
I
Michelle always has the best transportation answers.
that is superb. Love it.
That's brilliant. So, okay, now on to one of our favourite topics, food. So, what is your favourite table service restaurant? Let's start with you, Michelle.
Me? Several that I really like. I think I'll go with at Magic Kingdom, and I may mess up the name of it. What is it?
The Jungle Navigation Company Limited Skipper Canteen.
Yeah, the canteen.
Yep.
Skipper Canteen.
Skipper Canteen. Yeah. So it's themed with the Jungle Cruise. Now they have, when you first go in, they have a very large room for main dining. But they also have 2 smaller rooms that are a lot more charming. And you can ask when you check in to see if you can wait for one of those tables in one of those rooms. And they're great. But I mean, I'm a big fan of the Jungle Cruise. I still laugh at the jokes. And you get the same thing with your meal at this restaurant. So, I mean, I think food-wise, I probably would go Tiffin's. But the experience, I'm going to go with this.
It's a good choice.
Thank you.
And I agree
Yeah.
with her. That's my favorite of all of them. I love the food. I think it's some of the most unique food, definitely at Magic Kingdom. You're not going to find, to me personally, better food, more interesting, unique ways to sample food than that the Skipper Canteen. We'll just give the small name there. The Skipper Canteen and the fun, the carryover of the fun Jungle Cruise vibe over. I mean, you go ride the Jungle Cruise, then head over and get your lunch or your dinner over there. Fantastic. Not enough people know about it, I don't think, because it's pretty easy to get a reservation there, which is really nice.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, ask for those side rooms. And if you get a chance, ask for the butterfly booth, because that's a pretty unique place to if you've seen pictures of it online, it's a pretty unique
Cool.
booth to sit in. But there's also the Great Wall of China. Won't get into what that means, but that's fun too. But there's all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah.
And yes, it carries over with your servers, just like the skippers on the Jungle Cruise. The whole vibe, I'm all about it. It's so much fun.
Oh, wonderful.
I wonder how many people book it and don't realise that it's Jungle Cruise themed. And then it's like, if they haven't been on the ride and don't understand it, and then just think, oh, I'm not sure
Right.
what this meal and all those little bits are about.
Yeah.
But it just elevates it. How many times that we've been there a couple of times and we've never had a bad meal, and it's always best to do Jungle Cruise before, just get you in the mood, and then go and have
Yes.
an incredible meal.
Definitely. Right. Tell us a resort that you haven't stayed at but want to more than anything else on earth.
Whew, where? I guess it would be because we're DVC, and so we've been blessed. And now that we're here locally, we can go for a day or two and use up all these points for just a couple night stays. So we've been blessed to be able to stay at a lot of the various Disney resorts. I think the one that I don't know if you stayed there, Michelle, before we got together, but I have not had the chance to stay at is Yacht and Beach. We have not stayed there yet. So I would have to say, because that's one of the few really nice places that we have not stayed, that would probably be top of my list.
Yeah, I've stayed at both of those. I think there's only 2, I believe, that I haven't stayed at. Caribbean Beach and Art of Animation. I think I would pick Art of Animation. I would love to stay there, especially like in one of their suites. They look adorable. I know they have like the Cars Land one. I'm a big fan of Cars. I think that would be hilariously fun to stay at.
By the way, we have stayed at the Island Tower, the new
Ooh.
Polynesian Island Tower.
Oh,
It's beautiful.
Oh,
I
It's
can't wait.
beautiful. It's gorgeous on the inside.
really?
I know there's a lot of people that feel it's controversial.
Yep.
Maybe they're not crazy about the look of it on the outside from far away, but although I feel there's nuance when you get a little closer to it, to the exterior, but the interior is phenomenal.
I can't wait. I have to
yeah,
admit, we booked a week stay there in
Yeah.
August, and
Nice.
I just can't wait. And we're
Yeah.
trying out Boardwalk as well that week. We haven't been there since Boardwalk had the room refurb, so we're looking forward to just having a couple of weeks
Nice.
trying out a few new resorts. We've stayed at
Yeah.
the Polynesian before, but in the old
Mhm.
DVC rooms
Yes.
on the other side of the resort. But yeah,
And did I hear you say you were going to do a duo studio?
yes, we're in a duo studio. So
Yeah, we
can't
just
wait.
did that.
What
Really
was
good,
it like?
efficient use
Was
of
it?
room of
Oh,
the
that's good.
space. Mhm.
Because we tried the ones at Riviera
Mhm.
a couple of years ago just for a couple of nights, and I have to admit the bathroom being bigger than the rest of the rooms really surprised me. But to be honest, there was only two of us. It was perfect for a couple of nights. We were going there
Mhm.
for a cruise, so it sort of made sense. So,
Yeah.
but
And
Now
I've
they
never-
use the space. It's the living room areas, at least from the one we stayed in. I assume they're all the same. Was pretty large, because they use the couch as the Murphy bed and everything. So it opens up that area. You still have a small kitchenette. We've not stayed at the ones at the Riviera, but the bathroom is fairly large, but not bigger than the living space. And they have the sink on the exterior of it. So it opens things up a little bit. I think, for a couple nights stay or, if it's just a couple people, I feel like it's pretty good. We enjoyed it. We did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and the balcony is a regular size balcony and everything. So you get to have that. You can get your coffee in the morning and sit out and check things out. Yeah.
and it's just being that close to Magic Kingdom as well is always
Yes.
a nice perk. So
Exactly.
okay, so the next question is always a topical question, but what is your favorite car park?
Favorite car park. It's really first for me. I think I'll say the Riviera. And maybe because and last time we were there, I was taking some video shots. They have like an entry door in so many places. Like it doesn't matter where you park there, you're going to be able to get into the building on the ground floor really easy. Whereas, some other places you might be parking and your entrance area is far away. Here, at
Yep.
least, especially if you're there during either really cold or really hot weather or rainy, you're going to get into that building pretty easily. So,
It's a good choice. Riviera is always a great choice for
Yeah.
everything. I'm going to go with, because it's one of the few places that actually has covered parking, and that is Animal Kingdom Lodge Kidani. Because yes, you're far away from everything. You're out at the farthest building at Animal Kingdom. Yes, but you have a car with you. So then you get to park undercover, which in Florida in like July, August, or whatever,
Yep.
man, it saves you a lot in trying to like get in the car and cool it down or whatever it might be. Or sometimes there's thunderstorms and all sorts of weather that you deal with. It's really nice to have that kind of covered parking. Plus, I mean, you're in Animal Kingdom Lodge in Kidani, so you're just zipping upstairs and checking out all the animals. It's not bad.
It's definitely a resort that you need a car because we've stayed in one of the end rooms without a car, and I think it took us 8 minutes to get on a fast walk from there to get to the lobby, and it was
It's
like
a
this
long
was like
way.
we're going forever. It's a long way.
Yeah. Oh dear. Right, here we go. Next question. Typhoon Lagoon, Blizzard Beach, or Volcano Bay?
That's me first this time.
mhm.
Well, being as that I've only been to one of them, I'm going to go with that one. Typhoon Lagoon is my favorite. We are not necessarily water park people. Although we may, now that you're getting that free first day when you visit at a water park, we may be doing a little more of that. But we enjoyed our time going to Typhoon Lagoon. They all have lazy rivers, which means that that's good by me because that's usually what I'm about is the lazy river more than some of the slides. But I enjoy the vibe of Typhoon Lagoon, but I've heard great things about Volcano Bay. I've heard excellent things. We're not really Universal people. We don't get over there very often. We're more Disney people, but I've heard excellent things about that. But like I said, I have to go with the one that I've actually visited.
Yeah, I guess I have to say the same. I do like the wave pool too. I think that's pretty neat. But yes, I would love to try Blizzard Beach for sure too.
Yeah, I know a few people. I know a few people who are quite happy that Blizzard Beach is closing this summer, and they can actually avoid Summit Plummet, and they can just go and enjoy the wave pool, Typhoon Lagoon. There's none of that.
Yeah.
There's none of that whole experience of getting to the bottom of Summit Plummet and things like that. So it's a case of they're closing.
Yeah, what did you say? The Walk of Shame?
Yeah. trying to put yourself back together again as you get now and things like that. It's
Doesn't sound like a relaxing day at a water park. To me.
it's really there's nothing better, but it's one of those things. There's a lot of people feel very relieved on this sort of this dual working of only one water park in Disney working. So when they see Blizzard Beach shutting, and it's like, excellent. Come on then, kids. We can water park as much as we want now.
I was gonna do it. I was ready. But they closed the park. What can I do?
Yeah.
What can I do?
See, I have the same thing with was it Impressions de France and Epcot. Every time that we've thought about doing it, there was one day we were going to do it, and it was like the Epcot was closing early, so it was like it would close early before an event. It's like, oh, we can't do it. Oh, that was the day we were planning to do it. Oh well, we'll have to do it next time.
Maybe next time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It nearly is the same thing as having your swimsuit inside you as you get to the bottom.
Similar experience then, John.
Yeah.
Either way, you're wearing a thong. Before or after.
Yeah, he's
He's doing Impressions de France, it'd be ooh la la, wouldn't it? You know.
Oh. So, and as you said, you're not a Universal people, but if you had to choose between a land, Galaxy's Edge or Diagon Alley, where would you go?
My first? I don't
It's you. This
Yeah.
Okay. I've been to Universal actually on the West Coast and really impressed with their areas with Harry Potter. That's a tough one because I really love both. I've been a Star Wars fan forever. Love Harry Potter. That would be a tough one. And it's like on what day, right? Like, all right, today I think I would actually pick Diagon Alley. I'm in that mood, I think.
Yeah.
But I love Equal.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Like I said, we have not been to, we haven't been, we're right here, but we always make that turn towards Disney and not that turn towards Universal. So, but we do love Harry Potter. If there's one thing that is possibly ever going to get us to Universal, it's probably going to be now coming up on 3 Harry Potter areas, which I wish we could just get a ticket just for that, because we'd be on board already just if we could just visit those areas. Also the classic monsters thing, which is coming to Epic, which I'm all about the classic monsters too. So that's the only other thing maybe. But that being said, it's tough. I love Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. I have some dear friends who are Star Wars fans and have their own Star Wars podcast that may get on me if I don't say Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. So I'm going to say Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, but man, I love what Universal is doing with all their Harry Potter experiences. I think they're so immersive and spectacular and fantastic, but I grew up loving Star Wars for way longer than I loved Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So Galaxy's Edge is my space.
Oh, that's really good because it fits really nicely into the next question. I love this little flow. Are you early morning or a late park visit kind of person?
My turn this time. Right?
Yeah, go on.
We're in a way both, but not that rope drop to fireworks people. No, we're like get up early, go if we can. We're staying probably on Disney property during early entry, going there. And then we find that space maybe after lunch in the middle of the day to go ahead and take a little break, maybe head back to our resort, maybe get a little nap in or whatever, and then go back and finish out the day with, nighttime spectacular. If it's extended hours, even better, something along those lines. But that's more how we approach it. We are not going to be doing the rope drop to fireworks, but we do like both aspects for sure, especially because there's just something really special about the Disney parks at night.
Yeah. I'm more of a night owl kind of person, but because my husband loves to get up very early, we do as he described. If I was just going alone, I'd probably go a little later and just focus on the evening stuff, only because I do enjoy sleeping in on a day off. But I certainly love the way that we've compromised in how we approach.
No, that's a perfect foil. It really
Yeah.
is. And like you say,
Yeah.
the parks change it. And that's the bit I love is the fact that if people are only kind of morning people and then they get out mid-afternoon, they miss that transition from sunset into nighttime. And vice versa. If you only go nighttime, you miss the lighting as it changes during the course of the day. And it does you're able to take different photographs, and you actually different places look differently when they're lit at different times of the day. And that, again, it comes back to just how magically the place has actually been designed in the first place.
Right.
And you mentioned about the extended evening hours. I think Animal Kingdom in May is going to have one night where they're doing an extended evening hour. And that's one park that I think when you get to night and you walk through Pandora, it just changes so much. I just wish that regular park guests could have a later sort of opportunity to visit.
Yeah, it's kind of rare now where we're about to, where the days are getting longer and we're about to hit the time change here and things are going to be different here soon. So I know Michelle and actually her sister are going out tomorrow. I have to work, but they have the day off. So they're going out to Animal Kingdom tomorrow because her sister has never been to Pandora. But also they want to be there while it's still the sun is still setting early enough that you can get a little of that experience in the evening so they can see the bioluminescence and everything.
Yeah, they actually added some hours because when I was looking at this, trying to figure out when we could go before the time change, for tomorrow, it was going to close at 6 p.m. And then just the other day, I think it was on Friday morning, I noticed that they added it till 8 p.m. And so I'm like, all right, here's our chance. We'll be able to at least go when it's dark enough to really, like you said, for her to be able to really appreciate what that looks like at nighttime. So
Brilliant
That
opportunity.
leads us on to the next question, actually. So, you keep the magic or backstage detail?
It's your turn this time.
Okay. Well, I'm always a big fan of, doing research about what, Disney history is. I think getting to understand, especially with the older attractions or the more original attractions, some of the hardships or challenges that they faced and were able to conquer makes you appreciate that ride so much more. When you think of, how some of these rides, all that they were dealing with. I was just reading the other day, Bob Gurr was with the teacups. It kept breaking, and he said he's never ridden it, but he was underneath looking at trying to figure out the mechanics because they actually bought it from another company. I mean, something to that level of detail to say, okay, every day this was breaking, and somebody's having to get underneath, on their back trying to figure out how to make it better. I mean, to me, that makes you really appreciate what they accomplished, and so I think I like that level of knowledge of what some of the behind the scenes is about.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, total respect for anybody who just wants to keep the magic and doesn't want to know anything, what makes it happen or anything. But for me personally, and Michelle, sounds like as well, definitely, understanding what goes beyond making this actually makes a lot of these more magical. To me personally, we've done many of the tours. We've done Keys of the Kingdom a couple of times over at Disneyland. We've done Walk in Walt's Footsteps. We've done Behind the Scenes. We're all about the tours because we want to know more. We go to the parks enough that we see all the magic out there. We want to know what makes all that magic happen. And again, I feel like that even expands on the magic as you watch it, knowing all these people, all these amazing different Imagineers and artists and storytellers have put together this and what has gone into it. I find it fascinating.
Yeah. I think we need to get Bob Gurr onto Tiana's in Magic Kingdom. He'd sort that out in half a day.
Yeah.
I bet you Bob would have that
Well-
sorted half a day, and he'd be
Yeah.
like, "That's the problem. It won't close. You'll be sorted." There you go. That's
Well, from what I understand with Disneyland, since it's opened up, it's they've having that many more months to see what happened with the Magic Kingdom version. That the Disneyland version they've been able to make that work. Not that it doesn't shut down occasionally, but it seems to work
Yeah.
more smoothly.
Yeah.
Hopefully, at some point, maybe if they need to do a little bit of a refurbishment or whatever they need to do at Magic Kingdom, they can get Tiana's working more fluidly as well.
Fingers crossed. Right? I'm going to move as
Yeah.
well. I get into trouble when I start talking about this because I go off the other edge of this. So I'll avoid going off topic. Right. What's your favorite other podcast or vlogger about Disney?
Oh boy, this is me this time. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. I got so many, and I got so many friends, and I'm definitely not going
I'll
to think
do
about them all. Okay, Michelle's got a list here apparently.
Well, I got one that I'm gonna say, Pat and Charles.
Well, yeah, Pat and Charles, the guys that I was just talking about a little bit ago, who are big Star Wars fans. They do the Conversations podcast. It's a Star Wars podcast. It's not necessarily a Disney podcast, but take it for what it is. It's a Star Wars podcast, but those guys are entertaining, fun, positive. They're great. They will make you laugh a lot, but you also learn a lot of stuff about Star Wars. They're great. Definitely on our list for sure.
Yeah, I would actually kind of compare them with your podcast, because you're the same way. You give a lot of information in a very organic way with a lot of fun. Your passion comes through, your joy comes through. And that's the same with them for Star Wars. So anybody who likes Star Wars, they have taught me so much. I mean, I know that I used to hate Darth Maul. I mean, gosh, that guy would just make me cringe, of all villains, he was like the villainous villain to me. And they did a deep dive and I cried, and I remember sending them a message saying, "Damn you, you made me feel bad for this guy. I've hated him, and now I'm so empathetic." But that's what they bring to the table. I mean, they're a lot of fun. They're hilarious.
Yeah, they're great, and they're great guys. I have a few others. I've got our friends Frank and Jim Dillo's Diz,
Yep.
Theme Park Thursday with Dillo's Diz. They're great friends. There's a couple podcasts that started right about the same time as us that we've kind of almost grouped together with naturally. And it's them. Also Monday Morning Monorail, Justin Monorail, and Landon and Steffers. They put together a really great show as well. If you love Disney cruising, the DCL duo, they do a really good podcast. They focus on all cruising, but mostly Disney cruising. Their show is really great, but we have so many friends. This is the one thing. Your show is fantastic. This is the one thing that was completely unexpected when we started doing this show approaching 7 years ago. Was like, we just wanted to get on and talk Disney and everything. We had no idea how many wonderful friends like you that we would be able to bring into our lives just because of this thing, and how many special relationships we've had, some with, just like you, people we have not met in person yet we feel kind of like we have, because there's this bond between us all. And it's in this special thing from doing this show.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely spot on with that. And actually, I'm gonna stop us from blushing because you keep telling us about how much you enjoy our show. But that bond is such an amazing thing. And I think in some ways, I know when people talk about lockdowns and stuff like that, and when the parks were closed as well, but that kind of brought us all together because we were all wanting to produce content. We were all wanting to put shows out there. But actually, you felt as if it was a time where you were kind of a little bit unsure as how people would respond to you. So what we ended, I think we did the same as you guys. Is like you end up talking and chatting with each other and putting it out there, and it became, for anyone at home, it became instantly engaging, because actually, in dark days, it gave you that real uplift of these guys are all talking about a place I really love and I want to be there. I can't be there at the moment, and so that, I think that allowed for a lot of connections to be made. And rather than it being, I know people think, oh, it should, people should compete and it should be this. It's not, because we're all just talking about a place we love, and and that's why it's so good getting you guys on the show, because we want anyone who's not listened to your podcast to go away and listen to it as well. And that for us is that it's that sort of, it's trying to give people just that wider opinion pool that they can actually draw upon. It's it's kind of an organic way to actually go about listening to podcasts and going about and finding different Disney content. It's not all about one or two major people who are right at the top of the tree. I won't name them, because actually they get far too much coverage. But those at the top, a lot of people's go to. But there's loads and loads and loads of people doing it, and I'm certainly ones you'd mentioned. Though I'm certainly going to go and find out, because actually I love that whole fact of listening to podcasts. But I love the fact that they can put a smile on your face. Again, listening to your show, I love your tagline is basically all about that positivity, about your whole experiences, even when things don't go right. Let's put that there, but we'll come to that in a minute. But it's a positive Disney podcast, and I think that is so important, because actually it aligns so much with us. We have that whole thing about being a group of positive British people, and the tendency in life, unfortunately, in this day and age, is to use social media and to use different media as a way of just moaning and just getting people into a real rut about how bad the X, Y, and Z is. And actually, when you have that positivity and you can actually put a smile on people's face, it helps. It helps, and I think that's where we're at. Here you go.
Okay.
Sure.
The next question is a good one. I think I know where you're going to go. Being DVC members, are you staying on site or an off site?
I my preference is on site, especially since they did start adding back some perks. I mean, there was a time frame where there wasn't as many advantages to stay on property, and so even for us, we would at times like, okay, do we want to use our points for that, or let's find something off-site that's a little more economical, and we'll save the points for some maybe bigger trip or whatever. But yeah, in general, we tend to, especially with DVC, like the on property.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's why we bought into DVC, was we like staying on property. And so that's probably what we're going to do. Definitely at Walt Disney World. Disneyland's a little bit different animal in that, I mean, we have DVC. We actually one of our home resorts is Disneyland Hotel. So we kind of have a little bit of a West Coast base for when we do go visit. So we will probably stay there. But there are many, many hotels within easy walking distance of Disneyland that you can get for a much less price, that are quality places at Disneyland, that I feel there isn't quite the same bubble at Disneyland that there is at Walt Disney World. And so getting out of it a little bit is not as big a deal there. And so we might occasionally do that. But in Walt Disney World, we're almost certainly staying on property for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, good answer. I think that's, we might dip into that as the show progresses as well, because DVC is something that I think is really important to sort of different journeys. Anyway, the most important question is, are you Festival of the Lion King or Finding Nemo people?
I love both. Anything entertainment at Disney, I'm on board. I'll go to both. I'm especially now, like I said, we do love our attractions, but I love the vibe more, and the shows are part of that vibe. So I love both. I love the puppetry of Nemo. I love this. I'm a Broadway musical fan, so that makes me a big fan of Nemo. That being said, Festival of the Lion King is the king to me. It still is one of the best shows on property. It wins out by a smidge. I love Nemo, but I say if I could only go to one, it's Festival of the Lion King.
You let me down. You let me down lightly there, Tom, aren't you? I can feel it in your voice a little. Michelle, what about you?
I actually would, if I could only do one, I would do Nemo.
There you
I
go.
do think
You're on the Christmas card list. You're sorted. That's fine. You can come back. You can come back another day. There you go, Tom. That's it. We're done.
Well, see you later, guys. Thanks for having me.
I love that question. I really do.
Yeah, the puppetry is insane. It's
Yeah.
great, but just the whole show
Yeah.
and, you know, I don't know about you, but when you first heard, really a musical? But it's brilliant. It's great. I love it. I love the music and the actors. I just really feel more vibe there.
There's no wrong answer. They're both
No.
I don't think there
fantastic.
is. I think
Yeah.
that's the thing. You know, as a group when we first started this was such a contentious question, and yet as we keep coming back to it, there becomes a greater respect for both shows. And again, go back to lockdown days for the fact that both of them came back, and again in different forms and such like. But you know, one of my biggest things was during the time when the parks were closed and when both shows weren't actually operating, the real people who didn't have a job. And that really broke my heart. And actually going back, I know we've done a couple of shows with Katie from the Nemo show, but to go back to that lowest moment as a performer, when you've got no show to perform in, and then all theaters, never mind Disney, but the whole of America was shut.
Yep.
You know, you have to dig deep into either your reserve or savings, or you have to go and find more work somewhere else. And that must have been such a hard thing. And I go back to that as one of the most pivotal things that, you know, we came across. Certainly, you know, I don't use social media very well, but actually we reached out to people who were in shows because we just felt just so heartbroken from so far away. And actually to see them both performing and to see so many of the original cast back there, and with such a, they've got each other's back so much, and it's an absolute joy to see it.
Well, we have some really great friends that we've made from Disney Cruise Line that are a couple of performers that play. You may see them if you're on a Disney cruise. A lot of times they're playing in the atrium or they're playing in some of the lounges. Soul duo, Paul and Sonia. The last time we were with them before COVID was on our Panama Canal cruise when COVID struck right in the, we were in the Panama Canal, and that's when everything starts shutting down. So we appreciated them. You know, we got off the ship, we could go home. They could not at first. They couldn't go home. And then when they did, they got sent. Paul is Welsh. He lives there. And Sonia is Colombian. They're married. She was going to go back to her family in Colombia. The only recourse was for her to go with Paul for that point. And they weren't making any money. They couldn't do anything. So what did they do? They went on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and they started doing live shows every Saturday and playing songs and bringing in the community. And yes, asking, if you could help us out, that would be excellent. But more than anything else, bringing that energy, bringing that warmth and everything, and bringing us all together. And it was just such a nice moment. And then the very next time we were on a Disney cruise happened to be the very first time. Now, Sonia had a visa issue, but Paul from Soul Duo was on that cruise. So it was just kind of this special bonding moment.
Oh, wow.
Between us. We had them on our show a couple times, that we were able to get back together with them, and we've made such a friendship with them, and we appreciate them so much. But that goes for all the cast members, all the Disney performers.
Absolutely.
They are amazing. We appreciate them so much.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing. It's a lovely thing to be able to talk about now. And I think, because we are that little bit further away, and I think there was that, after it happened, everyone's in that mindset of, what have we all been through? Let's put that to one side. Let's crack on and let's try and get back to work, etc. But looking back and certainly know from my kids and I know people who are much younger, it will become the kind of wartime experience, in their lifetime. It's just it is such a thing that you can't describe unless you actually live through it. So I'm going to move us on, because otherwise I'll take us well off topic. But that's
Okay, we're down to the last question now. So, what is your favorite time of year to visit the Disney parks?
Your turn this time.
My turn. I probably pretty easy. I would say Christmas time, the holiday time. It's just beautiful, no matter which park you go into. The decorations, the life of it. It's just so wonderful. I think also because there's a lot of like personal. My mom and I used to go to candlelight procession when she was alive every year, and that like started our Christmas together. And even when I lived farther away, I'd make a point to come out. And so I think it just has so much meaning, and it just brings you away from the rest of the world, especially like Epcot, and you go through and you get to appreciate what other cultures and how they celebrate. Like, "Oh, yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do what they do there." That's a pretty good tradition, and things like that you can gain from it. I mean, Halloween's a close second, but I still think Christmas for sure.
That's a great.
I'm the holidays too. I agree with that. I'm all about the holiday season out at Disneyland, Walt Disney World. I think it used to be the Festival of the Arts, used to be the most underrated festival. I now think the Festival of the Holidays, since now that kind of Festival of the Arts has kind of picked up, and now that it's short, it seems like everybody goes in within that short amount of time. Festival of the Holidays kind of has been that underrated, where there's just this wonderful food, this wonderful vibe, and of course all the storytellers that you get. So you get a little piece of holiday style in all the pavilions, but across every park, the decorations are amazing. They're all beautiful and they're all different in their way. And shout out to the holidays. The resorts, just resort hopping. You don't even need to go to a park, and you can get that holiday feel by going resort hopping. And then you throw in Orlando that the temperatures has finally dropped to a reasonable level. It's just that perfect time of year.
Yeah, it is.
And unless you get that freak storm on like I think Christmas Eve, we were there a couple of years ago, and it's like you need your big winter coat because it's -1 outside.
Yeah.
I think if you've
happen.
never
It does
been,
happen.
if you've
Yeah.
never been at Christmas,
Yeah.
it is the one time that it will completely change it'll change your whole experience. And we did it the other way around. We did Christmas first, and I think as a family, we still want to go back and do Christmas purely from the fact that those trips are the ones that are completely at the forefront of the memory. And we've been so many times since in August, but the Christmas ones, there's something just completely special and completely different.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Especially if you can go like the beginning of December, when it's not
And avoid the crowds.
the major, not
Yeah.
the major crowds. Yeah.
It's hard to
Yeah.
avoid the crowds now. It used to be the sneaky time. You'd get past Thanksgiving over here,
Yeah.
and then you get like a week after that, and it's before you get to the holiday break there. That would be that time. But now it's just kind of morphed. You don't really get to dodge the crowds as much as you used to. But yes, those
Still
first,
better than the week of
yes,
Christmas.
those first couple of weeks. of
It's a
December
different kind of
are better.
busy.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's so difficult, and that's the thing. Disney, it is crowded, whatever time of the year you go, and it's just. I remember every time we've gone around a sort of Christmas holiday season, the part that I've always enjoyed the most has been Animal Kingdom, just because of the difference in music and the atmosphere you get when you walk towards the Tree of Life, and then you've got like the
Yeah.
Merry Menagerie with the puppets and the steel
Yes.
drums. It's just something that it feels weird coming from the UK and experience like 25, 30 degrees around Christmas. It's like, yeah, I could get used to that.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. Definitely.
So I want to say a huge congratulations for getting through our quick fire round of questions.
Yeah, quick fire.
Quick fire.
Yeah.
Now we're in.
I think as well though, what it highlights, and this is a really beautiful part of this, because actually it frames just the same passion that you guys have got, and I think that again is another reason why it's been so good to get you on the show. And the next bit, we get to know you guys a little bit more, and we don't judge you from whatever answer you've given. We just put that to one side. There's no judgment whatsoever. But as with anything, right, I'm going to ask the first one on this, because actually this is what always intrigues me. How on earth did you start up and do a podcast? I think when people ask us the same question, it's like, it's Ben Salt. So why did you start doing it, and how did you start doing it, and what gave you that inspiration to do it?
Well, I think that we've gone through this, and we've heard this from other podcasters as well, as I'm sure you have. I had this harebrained idea that maybe we should do. Here's the honest truth. I worked in radio for many, many years. And I was working in radio at the time when we started this show. And I had this harebrained idea of our radio station maybe looking for some more content. We have been huge Disney fans for a long time. Our friends and our family got a little tired of us talking about Disney always. We're like, well, we still want to talk Disney. Maybe we just put it out there in the ether and we'll see what happens. I was like, hey, eventually the radio station is going to notice that we're doing this. They're going to want content. They're going to bring us on, add us to the radio station content. Who knows? Well, that will give us some backing and we can start bringing on guests. Maybe, we can book things with Disney. It'll be fantastic. And then my radio station.
And they get a private jet.
Yeah, it's a private jet because the big podcast money that comes in. Then my radio station decided to fold. And even though we had been added to the radio station, we were looking really good. The radio station went away. But you know what we found out in the year and a half, 2 years before that happened is that we loved on a weekly basis getting together and having this kind of date where every week we would sit down with one another and just talk about what we love about Disney and there's a variety of topics and talk about with people that we enjoy the same things with. And it's been great. Now, Michelle, when I first brought it up to you, what did you say?
I thought he was nuts. I thought, who's going to listen to us? How are they even going to know about us? I don't even know if I'll
That's
still
still the question.
But I mean, and like he said earlier, the fact that, because of this, we have come in contact, probably more easier with other podcasters and vloggers and things. But there are other people like listeners who have contacted us from all over the world. And, some we've actually gotten to meet up with and things. And it's just been an amazing thing that happened out of this journey. But yeah, when he first brought it up, I really thought he was losing it. Really?
I think every content creator goes through that sort of process. It's like, who's going to listen? Who's going to watch? And you have that sort of thing. It's like, do I do this? Do I make the jump? And I remember when we started, it was like, there were so many questions, so many ideas, so many thoughts. It's like, are we crazy for doing this? And then obviously COVID happened a year later and it was like, oh, everything that we had learned or what we were learning all had to change. And it's just how you adapt. And then the community just all sort of brought everyone together.
Right.
Yeah. I'll just say it right now. I mean, we joke about the private jet because there's not a lot of money in podcasting, at least not for us little independent guys.
We know that.
Yeah, I know you. I was pretty sure you did.
Yeah.
I thought maybe you were making the big bucks. But
Yeah.
I was pretty sure you did. But we do it because we love it. We just enjoy it. It's fun. Yes, we're not making big money. People go in with these aspirations of, yes, a private jet, or we're going to be doing all this stuff. And it does happen for some people, but it's very few and far between. And usually it's people with connections or that are already celebrities or whatever.
Yeah.
You do it as a hobby, but a passion. It's a passion and it's fun and it's what we enjoy.
Yeah.
And I think one day we had the idea of like, if one of us won the lottery, that we'd buy a joint villa at Golden Oaks.
Right.
Nice. Yeah.
They're still on the dream board at some point.
Yeah, that's not happened, and we haven't made anything out of the podcast. And I have the annual conversation with my wife, and I have to explain that I'm having to send money to pay for the actual for the joy that I have of doing the YouTube show on a Wednesday and the podcast twice a month. I'm paying for the privilege, and actually, she turns around at me and says,
Exactly.
"What?" And I'm just like, "Yeah." It keeps me out of your hair for a good number of hours every week. That's it. Worth its weight. Worth its weight in gold. That's it.
Yeah, the joy we've been able to get from this, the friends we've made, it pays for itself. The money that we put into it, the time, the effort that we put into it. But just little hellos from people. We heard you. We enjoyed your episode, and then the friendships we've made just make it all worth it every single time. Yeah.
And we still enjoy the ones we getting together and doing this. I mean, it's still fun for us.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
350 episodes in for us.
It's weird, isn't it? And that's a bit. That's a bit that you can't pinpoint to anyone. It's fun, and that is the whole bit about this. And it's just like it becomes. Life gets in the way at times, but actually to be able to come and sit on the screen
and chat with people about a place that we love is so good, which leads us on quite nicely. And I'm not sure who to start with. So either you can pick this up, because actually this is actually one of those killer questions. So where did your Disney journey actually begin?
Okay. So I got the finger, not the finger. I gave her the finger. He pointed to me. Oh my God. I told you I was going to break your podcast. He pointed to me to go first. I have had a passion for Disney since I was little, since my parents took me to Disney World when I was little. I remember going through Small World and thinking, wow, this is amazing. And to this day, I can go, if I'm in the right frame of mind, I sit in Small World, I can remember the little me who first saw it. And I'm still short and little, but the younger me that remembers that wonderful experience. And so I have just always loved it. And because we've lived in Florida, with my parents for some of the time, we got to go as a family, and then, going with friends in high school and stuff like that. It's just always been a part for me to do it. Maybe not to have annual passes in early times, but just to have the ability to go from time to time and have really good memories. So it's been something that I have loved forever. And then I've just always been very intrigued by Walt and his brother, and just how amazing ahead of their time they were, and the visionaries that they were, and how they got to it. Obviously, nobody's a perfect person, but still, they've created something that's been amazing.
Yeah.
And
I'd say,
just always,
I'll tell you what, Michelle.
Yeah.
You and I should
Yeah.
go and watch One Man's Dream together one time, right? Because no
Yes.
matter how many times I watch it, I come out of there, I mean, bits purely on the fact that it's such an emotional piece of film to watch, and yet it resonates
Exactly.
so much as to how and why the whole of Orlando is what it is, and you're just like, nobody. Well, I'm going to say nobody. Very few people understand the whole of that struggle, and they don't understand just how close Walt was to go into his business, to go into the wall, and basically in selling Oswald for
right.
very little money. Nearly, could have been the worst decision to do, and actually to reinvent himself after that and go again. It fascinates me. I'm right with you, and we probably need to go for a coffee just to sort of calm down and just sort of
Definitely.
carry the conversation on after that. But it is that for me is the epitome of why
Yeah.
I still feel every visitor to Walt Disney World should be made before you enter the parks. You must be made to watch that film, so you actually
True.
understand why it's all there, because it
Yeah,
really
exactly.
begins to make so much more sense. There you go. Just
Yeah,
a
I agree with your idea of what you said a few years ago. If the Magical Express made a return, everyone that had to go, that film would be played on the bus there, so everyone had the chance to see it before going into the
that would be
parks.
great. Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
I hasten to add, I don't change any of my views over the 6 years we've been doing this. It's just like, and people are like, oh God, he's on about that again. Oh dear me. It's just like, and that's where the passion comes from. I'm right.
Right.
I'm right with you there, Michelle. I think that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that history part
So
of it.
yeah, that's been love it, love the history of it and all. And then I will now give the fingers.
She's doing the Disney point,
Disney
whereas I
point.
just did the one finger.
Yeah, I get into trouble when I do that to Claire. When it's just like, oh no. Ben sits there and goes, I'm going to have to edit button. There you go. Go on,
At
Tom.
least we're not live. It's all good.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's getting very warm.
My Disney journey was a little bit different. Yeah, I grew up in Southern California, getting the chances to go to Disneyland quite often, and loved it. Of course, what child wouldn't? Disneyland was amazing. Totally enjoyed getting the chance to do that experience as a kid, Disney. But then I went through my late teens, early 20s, and I kind of did what some people in the late teens, early 20s do. You kind of too cool for Disney, or not really too cool, but I kind of broke away from that a little bit. I still would check out the films. Maybe I wasn't going to the theater as much, but I would watch them on VHS tapes or whatever it might be. And still enjoy it. And occasionally I would still get to Disneyland with friends or whatever, but it wasn't a priority in my life. And then I met this gorgeous woman who's here with me, who awakened the Disney within me, the hidden Disney, brought me back. Our one of our first dates was going and see Monsters Inc. in the theater, Disney film. We went out here. At the time that we met, I lived in California. She lived in Florida. Okay. So it was an interesting, long distance romance to start off with. And one of the things she did was get me to come out and visit her. And of course, first thing we do is go to Walt Disney World, which I had never been to before in my life. Getting the chance to do that. And since then, it's just moved on from enjoying the movies, enjoying Walt Disney World. I moved her out to live with me for a long time in California. Now we're back in Florida. She got to learn, not that she hadn't visited Disneyland before, but she got to learn and embrace Disneyland more. We then would do Run Disney races. We joined DVC. We do Disney cruises together. It all came together, and now we're just like, we're full-blown Disney addicts. She's been for her entire life. I'm kind of a reborn Disney addict more than anything.
A little Sleeping Beauty.
Yes, exactly. That's a good one. Woke Sleeping Beauty. Perfect.
What lovely description. It really is. And again, we go back to sharing that positivity and sharing that passion, and actually that's how you bring people together, talking about a thing that you love. I'm going to ask you this one, because actually I'm not going to go into the realms of your relationship. I'll go back to the podcast because it's quite a safe area, really, but from everything that you've recorded, what has been the most memorable episode or moment on your podcast so far?
Oh, so many. We have so many wonderful memories and moments. I mean, we've done that this week. We recorded our 350th official episode. That we have so many things that we've done. I think the most memorable has to be, though, and I think Michelle would agree.
I was gonna say, I'm like, you really? This didn't.
No, I mean, there's episodes where you've had friends on, and
Yep.
Paul and Sonia from Soul Duo and all that. I mean, there's just so many great episodes. But I mean, the fact that we went to Destination D23. It's been a year and a half ago now, which is the one that's here in Orlando. It's the shorter 2-day one. It's a little more intimate. It's a little closer to the vest. They still do announce a few things, but it's a little different. On the Saturday, we got to do all these, amazing things. We got to see all this different stuff going on, and we got to see, go out and do a preview of the Journey of Water with Moana before it opened up. Got a late night thing at Epcot. Got to ride Cosmic Rewind as many times as we want after the park was closed. All sorts of cool stuff involved with that. Everybody gets up the very next morning, comes to what is going to be the Disney Studios panel. And everybody is still groggy from a late night the night before. They're like, you're in the theater. And the first thing they walk out, they're like, we've got this short that we're doing based on the 100 years of Disney animation. They have the creators come out. And they're like, we're going to show it to you now, the full thing. This is months before it actually airs. We got to see Once Upon a Studio, which if you've seen it, it's one of the most amazing shorts you've ever seen, bringing together all these amazing characters from the Walt Disney Company animation for so many years together. And it's a fantastic short. And it was incredible. Like, everybody was floored. Like, it was the most incredible thing we saw at that entire thing was this short. Standing ovation, a lengthy standing ovation for these people many times.
At least 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Standing
it was
ovation.
crazy that everybody, when the Disney community, that everybody can agree on something and enjoy something like that. It's good. It's good. So move forward. Eventually, we keep selling it. We're selling it on our podcast. We're talking about, like, we've seen this thing. We can't tell you much about it, but it's great. You're going to love it. And then we start questioning ourselves, like, well, were we just in the perfect experience? Did we just love it because it was this perfect, location, time, or whatever? And then, no, everybody gets to see it. It's on ABC, then it's on Disney Plus, and people got to see it. And they agreed. Great. We reached out to the people that created it, the code writers and directors, reached out to them, reached out to Disney Animation, talked with them, and they blessed us with letting them come on our show. And it's the biggest moment we've ever had because we loved that. We sold that short so much because we loved it so much. We almost felt ownership of it, which we had no ownership at all of it, but we felt like it. And then bringing those guys on and hearing their love of Disney and all things Disney animation and what a passion project of it. We talk about COVID. They were there plotting this thing out. They say they would go to Taco Bell, park in their cars next to one another, eating their Taco Bell, and shoot back and forth ideas about this thing, and their story about, it just, how it came together was incredible. And it's going to be definitely, at least to this point, I always hope there's something else, but to this point, it was the most memorable moment that I can think of on our show, Michelle.
Yes, I mean, agreed. We've had some great friends, other podcasters. We've had, others, people call them celebrities. They have had some history with the company and things they've done. We've had former executives from the company join us, all really wonderful. But this was so heartfelt. You could tell from both of them how much of a passion project it was, how much respect and love they had for each other. And you could just tell that and how proud they were to tell that story. And so it was the most easiest interview. It was like, okay, tell us about this. And,
we could just let them go. And it was great.
Yeah. It was amazing. And then to realize, how wonderful they are in real life. So we were going out to Disneyland the following or month.
It's about a month later. Yeah.
About a month later, we were going to be taking the tour, the D23 tour of the studios, and we
Burbank.
Right. And we mentioned it to them, and they actually arranged for us to go in and park and go into the animation studios. Wow. One of them was he was home. He had just had a newborn and he was home, but the other one was there and gave a tour of the Disney Animation Studios with us.
He was taking pictures of us with it.
Yeah, it's here, this, and telling us and showing us, oh, this is how we filmed it. Oh, here's an Easter egg that's in the film. And I mean, who are we that they gave us this extra
That's
special
incredible.
tour and everything? It just shows how wonderful people they are, and to know that the company's in their hands was just very, very warm and reassuring to us that it's, we're following a good company,
Yeah. I have to admit that show is incredible. I've watched it plenty of times on Disney Plus, and it just sums up the Disney company for me. It really does. If Disney can
Just hearing
produce
the story.
that and their sort of passion of someone creating that, and like you said, a standing ovation at a D23 event. I know last year's D23. I'm not sure there was a lot of announcements, but I don't think all of them got a standing ovation.
Nothing got, not at least at this event. And we've been to other, the larger D20 Expo too. This was the largest ovation for anything we've ever seen.
There wasn't a dry eye. I mean, again, hearing the stories of the people who were involved in all of these films that are still alive were being brought back to do the recordings and things like that was just really impressive. It's like, yes, this isn't just, somebody put together some great looking animation and got some voice actors. They got like the real Ariel, the real Pocahontas, and move on. I mean, these people were brought in.
They were bringing back animators that did 2D that were retired to, create some of these characters that they had created in the past. Gosh, the story that they told about Robin Williams and Josh Gad, you have to listen to our episode. The story they tell about them, the fact that those two, one, they wanted to get them in a scene together. But the fact that, I'll spoil it here, but you could go to our episode and listen to it because they tell it much better than me. They lived in the same building at one point. And Robin Williams at one point told Josh Gad, I hope we get to work together some point. And the fact that they used the real Robin Williams voice. They got from the family estate, to use Robin Williams' voice as Genie. And then it was with Josh Gad as Olaf in there.
In that thing scene.
They worked together. It wrecked me when I was doing the show. It's almost wrecking me.
I'm the same. Listen to it.
It is stories like that. They were all over it, and it was amazing.
That's
I
amazing.
love
I just love those
stuff. I
things that are
love
in the
things like
memory.
That's
Yeah.
proper Imagineering, and that's a bit that on one part of me really is frustrated because it seems to be the bit that people don't seem to go to that degree of detail, but when it's done correctly, you just marvel at you just marvel at just how amazing and how powerful it is to listen to watch, be it in a film, be it in a theme park. It is pure original Disney, and that is what I think each of us we just we all thrive off it. I just think it just really hits home so much.
We all have those dream ideas of what we'd like Disney Imagineering to do next, and just we'll keep thinking every time there's a D23 event. It's like I remember staying up during the night during the last one, and it was incredible to just hear people's excitement of things like Monstropolis coming to Hollywood Studios, all these new things and seeing like Avatar come into Disneyland, and then recently seeing pictures of Joe Rody in Pandora talking with Imagineers of probably going to be working on that land. It's going to be it's really good to see the sort of state that Disney is currently in. But do you have a dream trip or experience that's Disney that you've not yet done?
I guess a dream trip would be maybe, well, we've done Disneyland Paris. I think I would like to do it again. And staying there on property where we didn't stay on property. Although I think some of the Asian parks would also be a bucket list kind of exploring some of those to try out for sure.
That's it. I mean, we've done Disneyland Paris a couple times, and yes,
Yep.
we nearly did it this year. This was almost going to be a year where we were going to go back and revisit Disneyland Paris, but we pivoted our plans. Not last moment, but later on. We still have plans to do that, mostly because we're waiting for the studios to get finished. Because once that gets done, that looks like that's going to be a spectacular addition to that whole area. So that is in the plans. I agree. The Asian parks, especially maybe Tokyo. I really want to see Tokyo Disney Sea. We had some family members that visited not that long ago, and this was before the new area opened up. They got to experience, and they said it was phenomenal even before that new spot opened up. So love to get that, but I'd love to get the chance to do all the Asian parks at some point. It's just one of those things that I don't know. We ended up moving farther away. It's a longer trip. When we were in California, it was a bit shorter. It's still a long trip, a bit shorter. Now we're farther away, a little bit tougher to do.
And the thing is, it's such a long distance. It's like, but Shanghai is so close to like Japan, Hong Kong. It's one of those like, do we just do it in one big trip instead of doing it as individual? So it's then it makes it more expensive, and it's like, but actually, if I'm going to like Tokyo, do I want to do more in Japan itself instead of just going to just do Disneyland? And yeah, Tokyo Disney Sea looks amazing. Every vlog I've seen of Fantasy Springs makes me want to go. I want to book it.
Yes.
Completely. It's definitely top of my list.
Yes.
Michelle, yeah.
Yeah. What was the most recent Disney cruise ship you've been on? Have you had a chance to go on the Treasure yet?
Haven't been on the Treasure. We recently got off the Fantasy that we did. It was a shorter cruise. It was 5 nights, but it went to both of the Disney private island areas. But the Treasure looks great.
Yep.
We don't have any plans for that, but we are booked for the Destiny. So looking
Ooh,
forward
cool.
to
I love
that.
that. Yeah, we
And
went
because
on the
that one
Fantasy
they're
last
doing a
year.
few 7 nights.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be doing one of their 7-night cruises. So
Yeah, we did the
looking forward to
Fantasy
that.
Western Caribbean last September, and that was lovely. That was our first proper cruise, because the other one we did was on the Disney Magic, was during COVID or towards the end of COVID, where it was a UK only 3-night cruise, where it it went out into the sea, but you didn't stop anywhere. So
Right.
it was quite a different sort of cruise than
very
what.
British. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it was funny because just earlier last year, we had finally completed it where we had sailed on every Disney ship at that point. And then the Treasure came out, and now we have to play catch up and do the Treasure. We have talked with some people who have been aboard the Treasure. They say it's brilliant, fantastic. Some of the things that people didn't necessarily like about the Wish, they felt like they improved, that it was that much better. Not that the Wish is a bad ship, but that that there's a couple things that maybe because it was being put together and kind of rushed during COVID, that maybe it didn't come together exactly the way it would have been perfect. But everybody says that from who we've talked to so far, the Treasure is brilliant and fantastic, and we're looking forward to sailing aboard her eventually. And we aren't booked aboard her next, but the Destiny is exciting as well.
And it's every time that they just announce another ship, and it makes that like going on every ship another challenge. But I have to admit, the Destiny looks incredible.
Yeah. What I would also say as well, and this is one of the best things of again promoting your podcast as well, because you actually do shows about cruise line, you do it about DVC as well. So you're actually getting sort of proper experience feedback into your podcast. And I think that was a bit for us, but again, as a bigger group, it's easier for us to actually do shows like that. And I think for the two of you do so many different different strands to your podcast. And even on your website, it's really nice because you've got it laid out really nicely. When you talk about weddings at Disney, you talk about, you've actually got it really well structured so that if anyone's finding you for the first time, people can actually go and find really subject specific things. And I think that I'm trying to do me a little bit to promote you guys, because actually it's not often you ever find a website that's so easy to navigate, and it nails on exactly what you can actually want to listen to. And I think that's so helpful, because
Thank you.
it just becomes really difficult, doesn't it? Because if you're going on a cruise and you want to find something really specific to either a certain boat or a certain destination, it's dead easy to do. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So,
well, and full credit to Michelle, because she's recently revamped our website and tried to make things easier to find out there and everything. And she's done a great job with it so far. And like she said, she's still working on it, but appreciate and glad that you are finding it easy to navigate. That's great to hear.
It means a lot for sure.
Well, it helped me. And just as I do like to do a bit of prep before, we meet people, and when you see something, and that is, I like that. It's really good. I would also add as well, and I think this is the other thing that really strikes me, because we've done loads of stuff on DVC. You guys are DVC. We could go and we could talk about DVC and try and, I'm in that position where I should have done DVC probably 20 years ago and didn't. But again, picking up on some of our podcasts over the first 3 months of this year, of if anyone's listening to this and you want more information about DVC, again, go and check out Tom and Michelle's website. You will get a lot of really important information, because it's there, and I think you did a DVC 101 episode as well. It just gives information that is so important, and I think he's trying to get it out to people that, as you listen to us talk about things that we have a passion for, yes, it costs you a little bit more money along the way. I always hasten to add that Disney never seems to come cheap, because I end up listening to something like this and you're like, oh, DVC, I've never heard of that. And it's like, oh no, I get
that's the most expensive souvenir you get.
I get the look. I get the look, and it's just like, no, it's not happening. But again, I'm going to push people across to your website, because actually I think that for me avoids us going over stuff that you can actually go and find from your podcast.
Yeah. And I think the easiest thing for anyone who's new to DVC, the best thing I've said since we joined in 2016, is just, if you're planning to go to Disney World every year or every other year, just go and find out about it. That's all you need to do.
Right.
Yeah.
What we always say, it's not right for everybody. It was right for us. It's not right for everybody. But I do say, if you stay at moderates or above, or you like to or want to, then you should look into it. If you're staying at value resorts regularly or off property, then it's probably not right for you. Although, you might want to look into it just the same. But if you're staying at moderates and you're looking to, you'd like to stay at above, you should definitely at least hear what the people, the representatives of DVC have to say about it.
Yeah, I think so. I tell you, I'm going to change this on totally, just purely because I know that you've got such a wide knowledge. I'm going to stick this question out there, because actually Ben put this in. I just thought, oh goodness, I'm glad nobody's asked me that one. What's a hidden Disney gem that you think more people should know about? Because that really, as
Oh,
as
okay.
I
No,
read, as I read it, I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about it. Because as I read the
Yeah.
question, I'm like, oh, where do
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I go on that one? Because actually, when you've got such a vast knowledge of the parks, and I must admit, both Ben and I are mightily jealous of the fact that you live so close to the parks in comparison to us, and you get to go to the parks far more regularly than us. Maybe not quite as often as Claire and Robin, who are part of the group. But we'll leave that to one side. But yeah, it's just like it must be that thing. You know, and if it was so close to you, you become a little bit. In a way, do you become a little bit blasé about it, and you ignore the detail? And by the sounds of it, between the two of you, what you've shown throughout this show is the fact that you actually go seeking out that extra bit of detail. So go on, I've given you a bit of thinking time there. Go on, listen.
I'll start with this one. And even though you were talking about Walt Disney World and we go there much more frequently, I'm going to go across to the other side of the United States and go to Disneyland. And it's maybe because it's fresh in my mind, because we discussed it a little bit in our episode that we recorded today. We also discussed it with some friends who were heading to Disneyland a while back. And it's a little show that many people might pass by. It's just off as you're heading down the hub of Main Street USA at Disneyland. To the left side, there's something that's called the Royal Theater there. And throughout the day, they put on these little shows that are so Disney, so wonderful Disney magical entertainment. They're a little bit of Renaissance fair, a little bit of American vaudeville. They do this thing. They have Mr. Smythe and Mr. Jones and the piano player. They come out, they do these little dance and numbers, and they retell the story of Tangled and Beauty and the Beast, and separate. They alternate between the two of them. And you'll have Rapunzel come out for Tangled, and also Eugene Fitzherbert come out as well. They also will have Belle come out for Beauty and the Beast. And Mr. Smythe and Mr. Jones play the other characters within the story. But it's hilarious. It's filled with music. It's filled with fun. It is pure Disney, show, entertainment magic that I love and watch it every time. I mean, it's great little theater. The kids will love it because there's a lot of stuff. One, there's princesses there. There's Disney characters there. They'll love that. There's the jokes that are going to hit the adults that the kids will not get, that they'll enjoy. It's amazing. It's just a little show that's off to the side that you may miss, but I'm telling you, it should be part of your Disneyland visit.
Ben,
I'm adding that to
put
my
it on
list.
your list. Get
That's
it
on
on
my list.
Get it on that list.
Yeah.
That sounds absolutely incredible. You said a few minutes ago about we end up costing ourselves money and costing other people money, and I'm suddenly, having listened to that, I'm thinking that is right up my street. And actually, that is probably a reason in itself to go to Disneyland, irrespective of anything else.
It is.
Goodness.
It is amazing. I really wish they had something comparable here at Walt Disney World.
We were talking about that today.
Yeah,
It's like,
today,
why
actually.
don't they? Well, I wish they would. I wish they did.
Yeah, yeah. I could think of some gems that cost more money, but to be on the more economical or free. I know you all have done a great shows on free things. I think, again, going back to Epcot and what it has to offer. Now, there are attractions, but there's not a ton of attractions. And maybe using that day to really kind of get a little bit of an immersive feeling into some of the cultures, and finding like a quiet spot, whether you're just going to sit there or get a little bit to eat or at a quick service or just a drink or soda or something, and go sit. Like, if you go into the China Pavilion, there's if you're heading into the main building with the show, off to the right with their little koi pond, there's some quiet sitting areas that have like little babbling brook and stuff. And just to sit there and not be in the hubbub of all the people, and just say, wow, this is really beautiful here. This is really pretty. And just be in the moment and enjoy that. And in most countries, you can find a spot like that, even in the France Pavilion. I've gone in there times and just, okay, let me buy a glass of champagne and just let me sit over here and people watch and hear the music and try to pretend I'm back in Paris, and I think there's a lot of opportunities throughout each of the countries where you can take a moment. It doesn't have to be an hour. It just can be 10 minutes and just sit back and appreciate what is around you because it's pretty phenomenal.
It's so easy to get into that sort of thing. You enter the park and go, oh, I must do attraction. It's like, how many times
Yeah.
did people walk into France to go on Ratatouille, then actually just walk out of the pavilion to go to Frozen and go to Norway and not actually think of what's in that area unless you're hungry and you need some
Exactly.
food.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we've said it
Yeah.
for a long time, Ben, and I know this comes up regularly again, but again, it just shows again where that connection that we've made with Tom and Michelle stands is it is the fact of just setting aside a little bit of time, a little bit of space in your life to actually absorb what is actually all around you within what could be the chaos of a holiday or the chaos of a theme park day, but actually just taking a step away from it and actually absorbing the smells, absorbing
Yeah.
the sights. Because, and again, going back to what you said, Michelle, about the French pavilion, if you actually look at some of the detail in the design, which people might just walk past and just completely ignore, but it is so Parisian, and it just has that whole kind of exquisite sort of feel of being in Paris, and and not the theme park in Paris that Hazen to act. It is actually
Right.
really about downtown Paris, and it, it's to that level. And again, I think you could go into any of those pavilions around the whole of World Showcase, and you could actually do exactly the same. I know as a family, we take time, and we always go into the America Pavilion. You guys probably don't as much as we do, but I absolutely love I love the Voices of Liberty. I love the whole historical part of it. I love the fact that you can actually just come out of there and you're going, yeah, I quite think that, we're British. We did it wrong all those years ago. And it's like,
Well, I think, when you look at it, there are lots of theme parks across the country and many in Orlando. And, they all have great attractions.
Yeah.
Some of them you can argue are better than Disney attractions. But it's those little things that Disney does, adding those little areas, adding those little touches of magic. And from Walt's beginning, that's what he wanted to do with Disneyland, was make Main Street USA feel like you're walking down Main Street USA in a small town around the turn of the century, the 20th century in the United States. And he captures that. There's these little places throughout that make Disney to us. Now, people love Universal, people love various theme parks around the country, whatever's your favorite, so be it. But to us, it's those little things that set Disney apart. They have great attractions, but it's all the other stuff, all the other magical moments, the little areas, the little pieces of amazement that make Disney stand out.
Yeah, and I think there's loads more questions that could come from that, and I'm gonna refrain, right? I'm gonna refrain because I'm going to do this live. I'm going to just put out to both of you that we need to get both of you back on for another show later in the year, and maybe we could talk about some of those changes that Disney are making. I actually feel that we could go on we could do a show that would be about 2.5 hours long, and I get into trouble when I start doing stuff like that. I'm going to put that invitation out to both of you because actually for the past hour and a half, time has just absolutely flown so quickly, and we are sharing between each other a vibe and a chat that really could last the rest of your evening and sort of into our morning. And I don't want to overstay my welcome, and I think that is that's the bit I want us to actually, this is one of the nice things, and it goes again back to what we said earlier in the show, is when you make a connection with somebody from a different podcasting channel, YouTube channel, whatever, where you have that real shared voice and that real shared bit of, do you know something? I really know exactly what they're talking about. I know exactly where they are. I know exactly what that feeling is. That's what makes podcasting so special.
So Tom and Michelle, it's been an absolute pleasure having you both on the show. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your love for Disney. So before we go, where can our listeners find Hyperion Adventures Podcast and connect with you on social media?
Well, first of all, we want to say thank you very much for inviting us. We appreciate that you brought us on. We've been big fans of y'all for a long time, and we're just thrilled that we finally could work it out, that we could be on your show. And we want to pass along the invitation to you too. We want to get you on our show at some point too. Let's talk once we get off the air and try and get something together, because we love it. And if you ever want us back, we'd be more than thrilled to come back on. As for our show, yes, we are the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We are the Disney podcast of positivity. Best place we're on all your podcatchers. Best place to find us, though, is on our website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. We're all over social media. We're on Twitter.
X?
Not really. And Blue Sky at Hyperion Podcast. Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We do have a Facebook group. It's the Hyperion Adventurers Facebook group. Love to have people join us there. We do have a YouTube channel. Mostly it's just our episodes, sometimes video episodes, sometimes not, but we do occasionally post other videos as well. And I do a live morning show virtually every single day, just a little 15, 20-minute morning show just to share a little positivity in the morning. On there, we're at Hyperion Adventures Podcast on YouTube. And if you ever want to reach out to us for any reason, suggest a topic, just say hi, whatever, you can hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
Oh, that's brilliant. So make sure you check out their show. It's full of incredible Disney insights, fun discussions, and just about the right amount of Disney magic and positivity.
Absolutely.
So, and as always, if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. It really does help spread the magic. We'll be back soon with even more Disney fun. But until then, we'll see you soon.
We'll see you real soon.
Now my